responsible for his flock. So each one does play the role of being an imam. He's a leader who has people who follows him or her. She in her home is in charge of the home and those under her authority. So the issue of being just is still valid in her case in this regard. And Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, he narrated from the Prophet ﷺ that he said, the just people will be on podiums of light to the right of Ar-Rahman, of the most merciful Allah, and both his hands are right. وَكِلْتَا يَدَيْهِ يَمِينًا. Those who are just in their rulings and their families and in what they have been put in authority over. This is in Sahih Muslim. That those who are just in the rulings that they make, in their positions of authority, whether it be within their families or outside of their families, they will put in a special position on the Day of Judgment, on podiums of light. Besides being under the shade of Allah's throne, following the judgment, they will be on podiums of light on the right of Ar-Rahman. A special case. Why? Because of the fact that the Imam, the ruler, the authority, has no fear of anyone, any human being, because of which he or she will do the right thing, will judge justly. They are in a position which is easily exploited, which is easily abused. It is very easy when a person is in that upper level, at the top of an organization, or at the top of the state, or at the top of the family, to abuse their position of authority and power. It is very easy, because they are not accountable to anyone. So it's only one who feels a sense of accountability to Allah, who fears Allah, who seeks to please Allah. Such an individual will be able to be just in spite of whatever circumstances arises before himself or herself. And Abu Huraira, he narrated that the Prophet ﷺ said, there are three whom Allah will not reject their du'as. There are three groups of people whose du'as, whose supplications will not be rejected by Allah. One who remembers Allah often, the oppressed, and the just Imam. These are all in special categories. But at the same time, there are four whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is angry with. As narrated by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the trader who frequently swears by Allah. Everything he sells, he tells you, Wallahi, this is a good product. By Allah, you have the best thing here. Nothing better than it on the market. Such a person is hated by Allah. The proud pauper, one who is poor, destitute, and instead of being humbled by his state of destitution, he is proud. In spite of it all, he is proud and he is haughty. Such an individual is hated by Allah. Why? Because that is a situation where pride has no place. Pride has no place there. Destitution, poverty, is a means of humiliating people, bringing the proud down low to their knees. But such an individual, in spite of it all, still maintains an aura of pride. He or she would try to live beyond their means, to create a facade around them that they are living well, they are doing good, they are this, they are that, they are the other. Such a person is hated by Allah. The adulterous old man. The adulterous old man. He didn't just say the adulterer. The adulterous old man. Meaning that a man who has grown old, who knows better, who really has no justification for adultery, not that there can be a justification, but in the sense that a young person, driven by hormones, etc., etc., may commit these things because all this pressure is on them. But the old man who doesn't have the pressure anymore, he has nothing pushing him and forcing him into adultery, but he still falls into adultery. Such an individual is particularly hated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the sinful imam, imamun ja'ir, the leader who is corrupt, one who Allah has placed in his hands power, control, authority, and he or she abuses that control. Such an individual is particularly hated by Allah. The second category, the category of the young man or woman who grows up worshipping Allah. Again, what we're looking at is a circumstance where the pressure is on the most. What we can see when we go and look at all of these categories, people who have the greatest pressure on them to commit evil, to commit sin, these people who restrain themselves in those times, they have the greatest reward. Those who do not have that pressure, but yet go ahead and commit these sins, these people have the greatest punishment. So we see there's a relationship between the reward and the struggle that one has to do to earn it. And this is why the scholars have pointed out a principle which most people find difficult to grasp initially. The idea, as Ibn al-Qayyim had put it, that patience in times of ease is greater or more difficult than patience in times of difficulty. Having patience in times of difficulty is easier than having patience in times of ease. How is that? In times of difficulty, the disbeliever can be patient. Men are raised under the principle that men don't cry. So calamity strikes them, they are men. They can hold themselves, they can be patient, don't cry. Or a calamity strikes them and they think logically. What is my reaction going to bring? If I become impatient, I go crazy, I start breaking things around me, what is it going to change? It's not going to change anything. So as a non-believer, not believing in Allah, I can get a hold of myself and be patient. So in this regard, the believer is in no special position over the disbeliever with regards to being patient in times of difficulty. However, being patient in times of ease, only the believer can do this. Only one who believes in Allah can restrain himself or herself from evil in the times of ease. When wealth comes, when one seems to have gained success, the success that this world offers, for the person at that time to control himself or herself and thank Allah, thank God for what He has given them, and restrain themselves from squandering the wealth